Reading from paulgraham.com, Early Work, October 2020. One of the biggest things holding people back from doing great work is the fear of making something lame. And this fear is not an irrational one. Many great projects do go through a stage early on where they don't seem very impressive, even to their creators. You have to push through this stage to reach great work that lies beyond. Many people don't. Most people don't even reach the stage of making something they're embarrassed by, let alone continue past it. They're too afraid even to start. We just don't have enough experience with early versions of ambitious projects to know how to respond to them. We judge them as we would judge more finished work or less ambitious projects. We don't realize they're a special case. The right way to deal with new ideas is to treat them as a challenge to your imagination, not just to have lower standards, but to switch polarity entirely, from listing the reasons an idea won't work to trying to think of ways it could. But there is another more sinister reason people dismiss new ideas. If you try something ambitious, many of those around you will hope, consciously or unconsciously, that you'll fail. They worry that if you try something ambitious and succeed, it will put you above them. In some countries, this is not just an individual failing, but part of the national culture. I wouldn't claim that people in Silicon Valley overcome these impulses because they're morally better. The reason many hope you'll succeed is that they hope to rise with you. For investors, this incentive is particularly explicit. They want you to succeed because they hope you'll make them rich in the process. There's a lot more to new ideas than new startup ideas, of course. The fear of making something lame holds people back in every field. But Silicon Valley shows how quickly customs can evolve to support new ideas. And that in turn proves that dismissing new ideas is not so deeply rooted in human nature that it can't be unlearned. Unfortunately, if you want to do new things, you'll face a force more powerful than other people's skepticism, your own skepticism. You too will judge your early work too harshly. How do you avoid that? This is a difficult problem because you don't want to completely eliminate your horror of making something lame. That's what steers you towards doing good work. You just want to turn it off temporarily. If you overestimate the importance of what you're working on, that will compensate for your mistaken harsh judgment of your initial results. If you look at something that's 20% of the way to a goal worth 100 points and conclude that it's 10% of the way to a goal worth 200 points, your estimate of its expected value is correct, even though both components are wrong. It also helps to be slightly overconfident. On the face of it, this seems impossible. Surely it would be optimal to have exactly the right estimate of one's abilities. However, or how could it be an advantage to be mistaken? Because this error compensates for another source of error in the opposite direction. Being slightly overconfident armors you against both other people's skepticism and your own. Another way to get through the lame phase of ambitious projects is to surround yourself with the right people. It's not enough to surround yourself with people who are always encouraging, though. You learn to discount that. You need colleagues who can actually tell an ugly duckling from a baby swan. The people best able to do these are those working on similar projects of their own, which is why university departments and research labs work so well. You don't need institutions to collect colleagues, though. They naturally coalesce, given the chance, but it's very much worth accelerating this process by seeking out other people trying to do new things. Teachers are, in effect, a special case of colleagues. It's a teacher's job both to see the promise of early work and to encourage you to continue. But teachers who are good at this are unfortunately quite rare. So if you have an opportunity to learn from one, take it. For some, it might work to rely on sheer discipline, to tell yourself that you just have to press on through the initial crap phase and not get discouraged. But like a lot of just tell yourself advice, this is harder than it sounds. It can help if you focus less on where you are and more on the rate of change. You don't worry so much about doing bad work if you can see it improving. Obviously, the faster it improves, the easier this is. So, when you start something new, it's good if you can spend a lot of time on it. Another common trick is to start by considering new work to be of a different, less exacting type. To start a painting, saying that it's just a sketch, or a new piece of software saying it's just a hack. And then you judge your initial results by a lower standard. Once the project is rolling, you can sneakily convert it into something more. This will be easier if you use a medium that lets you work fast and doesn't require too much commitment upfront. It's easier to convince yourself that something is just a sketch when you're drawing in a notebook than when you're carving stone. Plus, you get initial results faster. It will be easier to try out a risky project if you think of it as a way to learn and not just a way to make something. Then, even if the project is truly a failure, you'll still have gained by it. If the problem is sharply enough defined, failure itself is knowledge. One motivation that works particularly well is curiosity. Try new things just to see how they'll turn out. It's all a bit strange that we have to play mind games with ourselves to avoid being discouraged by lame looking early efforts. The only thing you're trying to trick yourself into believing is, in fact, the truth. A lame looking early version of an ambitious project truly is more valuable than it seems. So the ultimate solution may be to teach yourself that. One way to do it is to study the histories of people who have done great work. What were they thinking early on? What was the very first thing they did? It can sometimes be hard to get an accurate answer to this question because people are often embarrassed by their earliest work and make little effort to publish it. Perhaps if you study enough such cases, you can teach yourself to be a better judge of early work. Then you'll be immune both to other people's skepticism and your own fear of making something lame. You'll see early work for what it is. Curiously enough, the solution to the problem of judging early work too harshly is to realize that our attitudes towards it are themselves early work.